my significant black hero would be Michael Jackson. Why Michael Jackson? Because I admire somebody who's not just good at what they do, they strive to be the best and to conquer new territories and new ground. And not only did he just put the music industry and the dance business in a headlock, he was a hell of a giver to helping people who was less fortunate than him. He was very sensitive to the needs of disadvantaged people, which is very admirable. And anyone, if I can be the Michael Jackson of my industry, that would put me in a very good position, because Michael, I heard him say on television one time that he didn't want to be good, he had to be the best. And that's something. And to prove it, if you look at his video, especially that Motown 25 clip, cut the music off, just cut it down and watch real artistry and poetry and motion. You would be just as captivated as if the music was off. And then when the music come on, and then to see how he do these mathematical computations with his body, and still singing and still dancing to perfect precision, we won't get another Michael Jackson for another 100 years. And I admire anybody who is just the best at what they do. Whether you're a janitor, a soldier, hairdresser, or whatever you is, I do believe in that philosophy. You know, just strive to be the best, and Michael Jackson is one of the people that inspired me to. If you're going to do something, be the best or leave it alone.
My most significant Black American is Latif, because he inspires me to do better.
You ready for me? Okay. Hi, my most significant Black person, or I have two. One would be Bill Cosby, and my second would be Maya Angelou. They're both inspiring to me.
For myself, Malcolm X, El Haj Malik Shabazz. His whole life and his movement just inspired me to change my life and be a better person.
The question of who might be my significant Black history figure, nothing comes to mind more poignantly than Sister Whitney Houston. And it's very rare, it might seem, but in the essence, I guess it's not as rare for someone to feel such strongly about a figure that has done so much without folks really realizing what she's done or what they've done when they were alive versus when a person dies and they realize what kind of impact that person may have had on them. I think the reason why she's such a significant figure for me is that here is a woman who was able to do something that very few people have ever been able to do, and that's pierce the soul and pierce the heart of not just myself, but also millions of people the world over. Whitney was that kind of person, is that kind of person that actually moved mountains spiritually, and almost any person that has ever heard the voice of one of God's most talented vocals in the world's history. And so for me, she is not just a Black and African American leader and figure in this world, but also she is a person who was spiritually ordained to do something that very few people will ever come near in terms of what she was able to do for folks. That is my hero.
My significant African American is Tina Turner. I did a report on her and I learned she overcame a lot of obstacles, and that made me realize that what I'm going through isn't as bad, and if she could overcome those, then I could overcome anything.
My significant African American is Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, in addition to spearheading the civil rights movement and justice for African Americans, Martin Luther King freed other Americans and white Americans to live in a society that is not oppressive and meets its own democratic ideals and its Christian ideals. So every American, myself included, and people in the world owe a debt to my most treasured African American, Martin Luther King.
My significant Black Americans were my parents, Luther and Martha Reed Carter, because they took little or no education and raised 5 children, put us through college, sacrificed for us to have a better life. And not just for us, they did the same for the neighborhood and all our friends. And to me, to give back like that makes more sense, because the Bible declares you take your home first, and that's what they did.
A great Black individual who has been influential to me has been Malcolm X. When I was in college and in high school, I found the writing and teaching of Malcolm X to be very inspiring and humbling. I remember in high school reading the autobiography of Malcolm X and learning about the history of race relations and from the perspective of a northern civil rights activist, and I found that to be extremely important. And it really taught me about the importance of community and the importance of standing up for what's right. So, and I think it's a good time, certainly in Black History Month, to remember those that were influential and really fought hard and died for the rights of others and for self-respect and dignity. So Malcolm X was a very important person to me.
Locally here in Connecticut, an anthropologist professor by the name of Warren Perry, his work in the African diasporas archaeologists has had a significant impact on me, because he's trying to advocate for legislation to make it mandatory that we learn about how the North promoted and prolonged slavery in the book called Complicity, that was written by the editor of the Hartford Courant. And also my father-in-law has been significant. He was born in Riverhead, New York, and he was one of the first African Americans to be able to have an opportunity to participate in one of the first to be part of the Air Force Army. He wanted to be a pilot as part of the Tuskegee Airmen, but instead he became a major in the Air Force. But he worked with Colonel Archer, who retired in Tox, Maine, after he retired as an Air Force a major in the Air Force in 1968, and then coming to Connecticut to stay, to retire here and finish raising his family of 4, 2 girls and 2 boys. His name was Norman Wright. And there's other photojournalists, documentaries of his life and family here in Connecticut, because his children were one of the first Blacks to integrate the school system in West Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh man, my significant Black Americans, man, I have quite a few, but the one that inspires me the most is Nat Turner, William Till, Harry Tubman, and the Freedom Riders. But the one that I pattern and look up to the most is Dr. Martin Luther King, because after all, his concept about nonviolence, I think that's the best method that we can use. So I'm inspired by all Black historians. I just think that it's better for us that we follow that step and lead us to what we need to be. Because if our young people do that history, then I don't think we'll be talking about violence, gun violence, drugs, and whatever. So I'm inspired by all the Black historians. And I think about the ones that we can't talk about, the ones that was on the slave ships and whatnot, the one that died, the one that laid their life down, like Nat Turner, he laid his life down. He was the first one that had to lead a revolt against slavery. Of course, they vilified him as a villain, but he's not a villain. He's a hero to our people. And we need more Black heroes. Therefore, man, Nat Turner, as I said, and Martin Luther King. I look up to those 2 people more so than anybody in our history.